Ravens fans, I think there's one veteran free agent that nobody's talking about enough right now, Keenan Allen. And honestly, I think this conversation is more interesting than people realize, because every offseason, there's always one veteran player that fans start connecting to contenders. Sometimes those rumors go nowhere. Sometimes they end up becoming one of the smartest moves a team makes all year. Now, over the last several weeks, more people around the league have started mentioning Keenan Allen as a possible fit for Baltimore. And when I first saw that, I'll be honest, my first reaction was, really? Because when most people think about Keenan Allen, they think about the player he used to be, a Pro Bowler, one of the best route runners in football, a receiver quarterbacks could trust on almost every important down. But this isn't the same Keenan Allen from 5 years ago. He's older now, he's slower, and that's exactly why this conversation isn't as simple as it sounds. So the question isn't, was Keenan Allen a great receiver? The real question is, does he still have enough left in the tank to help a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl? Because when you look at Baltimore's offense, there are arguments on both sides. On one hand, the Ravens already have Zay Flowers. Rashod Bateman is coming off of one of the best seasons of his career. Mark Andrews is healthy, and the Ravens have several young wide receivers they are hoping could take another step this season. So you could easily argue they don't need another veteran receiver at all. But then there's the other side. Championship teams are always looking for depth. They're always looking for experience. They're always looking for players who can make big catches when the game matters the most. And that's where Keenan Allen enters the conversation. Personally, I don't think this decision is nearly as obvious as some fans are making it out to be. But before we can decide whether Baltimore should pick up the phone, we first had to answer one simple question. How much does Keenan Allen still have left? So let's say for a second, Eric DeCosta actually picks up the phone. Why would he even consider Keenan Allen? Because if we're being honest, the Ravens aren't looking for another superstar. They already have their stars. They have Lamar Jackson, they have Derrick, they have Zay Flowers, they have Mark Andrews. This offense already has explosive players, so if Baltimore were to sign Keenan Allen, it wouldn't be because they're looking for another home run hitter. It will be because they're looking for something completely different. Keenan Allen has built his entire career on doing the little things at an elite level. He's never been the fastest receiver. He's never relied on running past defenders. His game has always been about precision, route running, timing, creating separation with technique instead of pure speed. And honestly, those type of receivers usually age better than players who rely on athleticism, because while speed fades, football IQ doesn't, understanding leverage doesn't, knowing how to find soft spots in zone coverage doesn't. Those are things veteran receivers continue to do at a high level, and that's exactly what makes this conversation interesting. Think about the situations Baltimore struggled with at times last season. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8, need a first down. Everybody in the stadium know the ball has to come out quickly. Who do quarterbacks rely on in those moments? Usually the receiver who runs the right route, gets open on time, and catches the football. That's been Keenan Allen's reputation for years. He's been one of those receivers quarterbacks lean on when the play absolutely has to work. Now imagine adding that kind of reliability to an offense led by Lamar Jackson. That's not about replacing Zay Flowers. It's about giving Lamar another experienced option when defenses start taking away the first read. And I also think there's another part of this people overlook: leadership. When you walk into an NFL locker room with over a decade of experience, players pay attention. Young receivers watch how you prepare, how you study film, how you recover, how you practice. That's something you can't measure with statistics. Baltimore has invested in young receivers over the last few drafts. Players like Devontae Walker, Elijah Surratt, Jacoby Lane, LaJohntay Wester. Those guys are still learning what it takes to become consistent NFL players. Having someone like Keenan Allen around every day could actually speed up that development, because sometimes the biggest impact a veteran makes never shows up on the stat sheet. And then there's Lamar Jackson. I think we sometimes forget how valuable trust is between a quarterback and his receivers. Lamar has chemistry with Zay Flowers. He has chemistry with Mark Andrews, but championship offenses are built on having multiple answers. What happens if Zay gets doubled? What happens if defenses take away Mark Andrews over the middle? Who becomes that reliable veteran option on 3rd down? That's where someone like Keenan Allen could fit. Not as the #1 receiver, not even as the focal point of the offense, but as another player defenses had to respect. And when you give Lamar Jackson more reliable answers before the snap, the offense usually plays faster, more efficiently, and that's exactly why this idea has started getting so much attention. So on paper, you can absolutely make the case that Keenan Allen will help this football team. The route running, the experience, the leadership, the reliability, all of that makes sense. But football isn't played on paper, because if Baltimore signs Keenan Allen, someone else is going to lose opportunities. And that's where this debate becomes a lot more complicated. So let's say the Ravens actually make the call. Keenan Allen says yes, and he's wearing purple and black before training camp. The next question becomes, does this offense actually get better? Because that's really what this decision comes down to. Not whether Keenan Allen has had a great career, not whether he's a respected veteran. The only thing that matters is, does he increase Baltimore's chances of winning a Super Bowl? And when I started thinking about that, I kept coming back to Lamar Jackson, because every offseason, people ask the same question: what else can Baltimore do to help Lamar? Sometimes the answer is offensive line. Sometimes it's another running back. Sometimes it's improving the defense so Lamar doesn't have to score every drive. But another proven receiver, that's always part of the conversation. Because playoff football is different. Defenses get better, windows get tighter, mistakes become even more expensive. Sometimes one third down catch changes an entire game. Sometimes one veteran receiver keeping a drive alive changes an entire season. That's why contenders are always looking for experienced players who don't panic when the moment gets big. Now imagine the Ravens walk into a playoff game. Defenses already have to account for Derrick Henry. They had to respect Lamar Jackson's legs. They know Zay Flowers could beat them over the top. Mark Andrews is still one of the best tight ends in football. Rashod Bateman has become a reliable outside receiver. Now imagine adding Keenan Allen as another experienced option underneath. And now, defensive coordinators have another problem to solve, because they can't double everyone. Somebody is going to get a favorable matchup, and Lamar Jackson is one of the best quarterbacks in football at finding it. But this isn't just about what happens on Sundays. Think about training camp, think about practice, think about the younger receivers on the roster. Guys like Elijah Surratt, Devontae Walker, Jacoby Lane, DeJounte Wester, they're still trying to prove they belong. Now imagine going against someone like Keenan Allen every day in meetings, watching how he studies film, watching how he prepares, watching how he set defenders up doing routes. Those lessons don't show up in a box score, but organizations talk all the time about veteran leadership because it matters. Sometimes a younger player's biggest jump comes from learning how professionals approach the game. And that's why this discussion is bigger than just adding another receiver. It's about adding experience to a team that's trying to win right now. The Ravens aren't rebuilding. They're not trying to sneak into the playoffs. They're chasing a championship. Every move Eric DeCosta makes has one question attached to it. Does this increase our chances of holding the Lombardi Trophy? If the answer is yes, then you at least have to consider it. But there's another side to this, because every roster spot matters, every dollar matters, every snap matters. And if Keenan Allen comes to Baltimore, those opportunities have to come from somewhere. Would the Ravens be slowing down the development of the younger receivers? Would they be paying for past production instead of future production? Would they be better off trusting the players they've already invested in? Those are real questions. And honestly, they're probably the biggest reasons why this move hasn't happened yet. So after looking at both sides, I can understand why some Ravens fans will want Keenan Allen in Baltimore and why others think Baltimore should stay exactly where they are. But after reading everything, looking at this roster and thinking about where this team is headed, I've come to my conclusion, and honestly, I think it comes down to one word: value. Let's talk about it. So after looking at every angle, I think this comes down to one question. Not can Keenan Allen still play? I think he's already answered that throughout his whole career. The real question is, does signing Keenan Allen make the Baltimore Ravens a better football team than they are today? Because that's the standard. This isn't a rebuilding team. This isn't a team looking for veteran leadership just to help young players develop. This is a team trying to win the Super Bowl. Every move EDC makes from this point forward has to increase Baltimore's chances of lifting the Lombardi Trophy. If it doesn't, then there's really no reason to make the move. And honestly, I can understand why some Ravens fans would say no. Keenan Allen is 34 years old. He's not the same explosive receiver he was in his prime. The Ravens have invested draft picks in young wide receivers. Elijah Surratt is trying to prove he belongs. Devontae Walker is looking for a bigger role. DeJounte Wester is fighting for opportunities. Those players need reps. They need live game experience. The only way they develop is by getting on the field. So if you bring in Keenan Allen, those opportunities naturally become smaller. That's a fair concern. There's also the financial side. Even if Baltimore has the cap space, every dollar matters. Eric DeCosta has always been disciplined with veteran contracts. He's not going to make a move simply because a player has a big name. The value has to make sense. The fit has to make sense. The timing has to make sense. That's how the front office has operated for years. But here's where I land. If Keenan Allen is looking for a massive payday, then I'm passing. at this stage of his career, I don't think Baltimore should be paying premium money for past production. However, if he's willing to sign a team-friendly one-year deal, I think this conversation changes completely, because now you're talking about adding a veteran who understands how to get open, who knows how to move the chains, who plays in big games, who can help Lamar Jackson without asking him to carry the offense. That's a very different investment. You're not signing him to be wide receiver 1. You're signing him to make your offense more complete. And also, I keep coming back to something we talked about on this channel before. The Ravens are in win now mode. Lamar Jackson is in his prime. Derrick Henry is here to help them chase a Super Bowl. The defense looks loaded. This roster has legitimate Super Bowl expectations. So if there's a veteran player who can improve your football team without hurting your long-term future, I think you owe it to yourself to seriously consider that move. Not because you are desperate, but because opportunities to win championships don't come around forever. So my final take is, I don't think the Ravens need Keenan Allen, but I do think he make them better if the contract is reasonable. If both sides are looking for the same thing, and if Keenan Allen is willing to embrace a role where he doesn't have to be the #1 receiver, I absolutely make the phone call, not because I'm chasing the player Keenan Allen used to be, but because I think the player he is today could still help Baltimore win meaningful football games. And when your goal is winning a Super Bowl, sometimes those are exactly the kind of moves that make the difference. But I want to hear from you, Ravens flock. If you are Eric DeCosta, are you calling Keenan Allen today? Yes, bring him to Baltimore. No, trust the young receivers already on the roster. And if you would sign him, what would be the most you'll be willing to pay him on a one-year deal? Drop your comments below, like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you all for watching the videos on Gridiron Flock TV. I'm gonna continue to bring you all the updated news when it comes to the Ravens organization, and you already know, we out.